anytime we're given anything, right, what happens is this is all commerce. We're all dealing in commerce. So there's a maxim that says delivery is by way of acceptance. So what that means is if somebody sends me this and I open it, I read it, I've accepted it, therefore it's being delivered. Now imagine that you had an invoice sent to you by somebody that did work. If you never received it, then how could they have ever delivered your bill to be paid, right? So what happens is once we've taken this, it's deemed accepted and therefore delivered. But if it's never accepted, then it's never delivered. Therefore, whatever this is, whatever offer this is under commerce does not stand because it hasn't been delivered. I mean, to take that analogy, imagine it's the plumber and he hasn't put his bill or his invoice in the mailbox. Well, it was never delivered, it was never accepted, so I don't owe him any money until there is some form of commerce entered into, all right? So what we can do is you open it, you take it out, you can have a read. If you don't like it, you can put it back in, reseal it as I've done, and then do a return to sender. Because then, has it been delivered? No, it hasn't. So if anybody ever rings you and says, you're behind on your bill or your whatever this is, then you can say, really? What are you talking about? What bill? And they'll say, well, it was sent, we sent out the bill. And you say, really? Have you got evidence that you sent that out? This, like most mail, is not sent by what? Registered mail. How is there ever any proof that this was sent or received anyway? Unless you incriminate yourself as to having received it. You become the witness. So unless it's sent registered mail, which then has a record of who signed for it and when and what time, then it's not delivered. So you can always call back and say, or if you're on the phone with them, or if you're writing, you say, hey, listen, I don't know what you're talking about. And they say, well, we sent you the bill. And you say, well, do you have some evidence that you sent or that I received it? Because I haven't been in receipt of anything. Likewise, because whoever is in here, you can see I've already taken it out and put it back in because my name's not on it. But if that is an entity or something that's not living, is that not deceased? So some people write back return to sender, deceased or deceased to state because they're sending it something that's dead. So the dead can't open and read and respond to a letter of some kind. So that's something else that you can do. The way I usually do it, or what I usually write on there, is I will write return to sender. Sorry, I won't write that first. I'm just doing two things now. I'll do it on this one. I write this. Unclaimed. Unclaimed. So unclaimed means that it has not been claimed, obviously. What does that mean? So unclaimed means that it has no bearer, no receiver. Unclaimed. Then I'll put no consent equals no contract. So if we don't consent to doing business with anybody, then there's no contract or agreement. No contract or agreement can be forced upon us, whether it's for vaccines, tests, quarantine, a bill of some kind. It can't be forced on you. Likewise, let's say it's the plumber. He can't come around and go, see this lead pipe, I'm going to brain you with it if you don't let me do your pipes. That would constitute, first of all, a crime against you because it's threats, but also it invalidates any potential agreement because there has to be a meeting of the minds. There has to be many things to form an agreement, right? It can't just be forced upon you. No consent equals no contract. And then I write return to sender for cause without dishonor. Without dishonor. And then I can also write mail fraud, which I usually write on all of my stuff. Mail fraud being a federal crime and not a good thing. So there we go. I've written, my handwriting is really awesome as you can see. I wrote unclaimed, no consent equals no contract, return to sender for cause without dishonor. And then I wrote mail fraud on it. You can write whatever you want. You can just write return to sender or RTS and then you can write deceased. They're not going to continue trying to do business with a deceased estate. So benefits of steaming from a kettle is that you can open a letter. What happens, right, though, is if I do this, but this one doesn't matter because if I do this, right, and then I go, and then I take it out and it's all scrunched and then I've been eating peanut butter and then there's peanut butter all over it. And then I go, I don't want that. and I put it back in and it looks like this and I tape it back together and send it off, do you think that that constitutes unclaimed? Of course not. It's been received, obviously, therefore delivered. So as soon as it's delivered, whatever you do with that is up to you. It's not, sorry, what I mean by that is, I don't want to confuse anyone, not whatever you do with that, I want to throw it in the bin. What it means is that if it's delivered, you are now on notice and it is up to you to respond honorably. If you don't do what's in it, if you just go, oh, I don't want that, and you throw it out, your silence then is acquiescence. It's actually dishonoring commerce. Therefore, they can do whatever they want. If it says in here that you have a fine to pay or you have to do whatever, and you don't do it, or you don't give a negotiation or a counterclaim or a conditional acceptance, well then you are agreeing by assent, which is your unconscious decision to agree, to perform to whatever satisfaction is for them. So that's why we never want to remain silent. So if you've opened it and it's a notice of some kind, which this isn't, but this was just like a generic thing, then you would have to do a return notice. You would have to do a notice of conditional acceptance, outlining everything outlined in their correspondence and handle each point. Otherwise, it's deemed that you've accepted the terms or accepted the offer and you've agreed. You formed an agreement that way. So we don't want to do that.